Well, it's my privilege to welcome you to our first Wednesday of the month National Lunch and Learn League. When AnnieMac Home Mortgage set out to become the number one realtor referred mortgage company in every market we serve, we knew that we'd have to extend an olive branch to the real estate community to get their attention and appreciation and some sense of loyalty for pre-qualifications and their important clientele to be trusted with us for loan applications and mortgage referrals. We sought to differentiate AnnieMac with our lunch and learn environments in a way to impress upon you, the real estate professional, that in fact, our success is measured by yours. And if we can work together to increase your sales volume, if working directly with AnnieMac Home Mortgage helps you increase your sales volume, we think we'll get your attention. And we've done that with 2,900 real estate brokerages across the country. We've got over 32,000 real estate agents nationwide that have participated at some level with AnnieMac Works or the My Work Suite, or now our new National Lunch and Learn League. We've written billions of dollars in mortgages. We can write virtually any program or product that exists in the mortgage world, including FHA and USDA and VA. We also do a terrific job with jumbo luxury products and conventional lending. Niche products like renovation lending and reverse mortgages, and we also do a fine job in this helter-skelter world of non-warrantable condos and condominium lending. Talk to your mortgage professional about condo lending, reverse mortgages, and renovation lending. Through our My Work Suite technology, we have helped agents differentiate themselves as better listing agents and helped our real estate referral partners take thousands of listings across the country. But if you ask me why AnnieMac Home Mortgage is number one and why so many realtors trust AnnieMac, it's simply the people. The loan officers that invited you to today's Lunch and Learn, the mortgage professionals and branch managers across the country stand out. Our products are very, very competitive and probably the widest variety of products that you'll find. And last but not least, I think there's a Fortune 500 caliber process, a culture of rigor, a culture of discipline. There's a culture of personal responsibility that permeates all of our processing and getting your deals ready to close. As a realtor for over 30 years, I will tell you that my absolute favorite thing about AnnieMac Home Mortgage has to do with these three T's at the bottom of your screen: total, transaction, transparency. And within the scope of our relationship to you as a real estate professional and your clients, we encourage you as a real estate professional to load our smart mortgage app onto your phone, onto your smartphone. It gives you real-time access to benchmarks, push notices. You've got an app right on your phone that you can track your mortgages that you referred to us in your pipeline, and ultimately at every benchmark, whether it be particular documentation, verifications of employment, appraisals, when the loan is submitted to processing, underwriting, approved, and clear to close, you get those push notices real time on your smartphone. And I think that cutting edge technology is really setting us apart. So this is the second in our series called National Lunch and Learn League. This is a speaker that was handpicked by me. I am one of the founders of the AnnieMac Works productivity platform, and I will tell you that I sat in a room with this gentleman for about 3 hours watching him speak to hundreds and hundreds of realtors in a room. I can tell you that I was very, very impressed with the attention, the appreciation, and also the relevance of his message in front of all of these top tier realtors that weekend in Tampa. And I couldn't be more proud to introduce the president, CEO, and founder of Club Wealth, Mr. Michael Hellickson.
Hey everybody, Michael Hellickson here with Club Wealth Coaching and Consulting. I'm so happy to be working with you today and bringing you social media basics and the listing presentation. So check it out. We got a lot of people logging on right now. We're going to start in about 10 seconds, but before we do, I want you to go grab a piece of paper, something to write with. I'm going to go fast today. We're going to have lots and lots of stuff to go over. You're going to be taking lots of notes, so make sure you're ready. And you ready for it? Here we go. All right, Facebook. Right now, Facebook is it. Did you know that the average American spends more time per day on Facebook than they do watching television? That's massive. And when you understand that, you know that it's more important and it's actually greater return on your investment to focus on social media marketing than it is to go out and advertise on the TV and radio. Don't get me wrong, TV and radio are great things, and you can do very well on those platforms as well, but Facebook is where it's at right now. Now, specifically on Facebook and in other places online, you need to make sure you're incorporating video in every single thing you do. Video is where it's at. Video is not now, it's not like this great, amazing thing. It is the standard. What I mean by that is it's not enough. If you don't have video, you're behind. You absolutely must be using video in everything you're doing. All right, now, how do you make sure that you're really knocking it out of the park on Facebook? Let's assume that you're posting video on Facebook. I also want you to follow the 10-10-10 rule. What is the 10-10-10 rule? The 10-10-10 rule is that you're going to spend 10 minutes every morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 10 minutes every evening toward the end of your day on Facebook. Your 10 minutes in the morning are going to be spent prior to your prospecting time. This is very, very, very important. Make sure that you don't check your email, voicemail, social media platforms, or anything else for that matter, text message, any of that stuff. Don't be checking any of that between 8 o'clock and noon. What we're talking about here, though, is how do you get the most value out of Facebook by following that 10-10-10 rule? Well, here it is. If you're going to be really aggressive, go for a 20-20-20 rule. That means 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, and 20 minutes in the evening on Facebook posting away. Now, here's another thing that's very critical about this. You also want to follow the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is that 80% of my posts can be business in nature. 80% of my posts should be personal in nature, and only 20% should be business in nature. So in other words, every time somebody gets on, they need to get a backstage pass to your life. They need to know, like, and trust you before they do business with you. Here's the problem. A lot of agents now are saying, oh, well, I keep my business and my personal life separate. Hogwash. That's not going to get you where you want to go. You want to be successful in real estate? You need to let people see that backstage pass to your business and to your personal life so that they can, again, know, like, and trust you, because they're going to have to do that. Essentially, they need to see not only that you're professionally competent, but that you personally care about them and what's important to them, not just what's important to you. All right, targeting, very, very important. Here we're talking about geographic targeting on Facebook, social targeting on Facebook, demographic targeting on Facebook. This is all very, very important. What does that mean? If I'm going to hold an open house, for example, then I'm going to want to make sure that I'm only marketing to the people that are within a certain radius, maybe a half a mile from that particular house. You want to make sure that all of your advertising on Facebook is very highly targeted. Don't cast a wide net hoping that you're going to bring everybody into your funnel. Make sure you're very, very targeted in your approach so that you can save your marketing dollars, because you'll get higher ROI on those dollars, and now you'll be able to go out and do other campaigns to bring in additional business. So targeting is very important. Next is retargeting. Retargeting is huge on Facebook. Let me tell you something. If I'm going to retarget people, what this means is, let me give you an example. If you've ever been to Target, or let's use even REI, Recreational Equipment Incorporated, right? Or maybe Bed Bath & Beyond for the women. Some of you have been to some of these websites. Any of these sites that you've been on, once you've gone to their website, then you go back to Facebook, and all of a sudden, guess what? Everywhere you go on Facebook, you're seeing Bed Bath & Beyond, or you're seeing REI, or you're seeing Target. Regardless, you're seeing those websites that you've been to recently. Did you know that you can do the exact same things with people that have been to your website? Wouldn't it be cool if every time someone went to your website from now on, when they got on their Facebook, they would see your advertising? Let me show you exactly how to do that. Very, very simply put, you're going to go to your ads manager on Facebook. Now, you have to have a business and a personal page. So your business page is where you do your ads manager. So I go to my business page, go to ads manager. I'm going to click on tools. Then I'm going to click on pixels. From there, I'll click on View Pixel Code. And from there, I'll see a bunch of gobbledygook. It's HTML code. That's your pixel. So I'm going to copy that HTML code, and I'm going to paste that HTML code into the header on every page of my website. Now, every single time someone goes to my website, if they have a Facebook account, guess what's going to happen? All of a sudden now, I'm going to be able to retarget them because Facebook's going to know that they were on my site. So here's how you retarget them. After you've pasted that code on your website, now you go back to your ads manager. You go to write your ad, and you're going to simply select audience. And when you define your audience, you're going to say, I want people that have been to my website. Now, what's really cool is you can actually segregate this audience even further. You can say, for example, all right, I only want to target people that have been on this particular page of my website. Maybe you have a buyer page and a seller page. Well, I wouldn't want to run buyer ads to sellers, and I wouldn't want to run seller ads to buyers. I want to run highly targeted ads to each audience. So I could say, I only want to run an ad to people that have been to this particular page on my website. Taking it a step further, you could even go so far as to say, I only want to run this ad to people that have been on this page and watched at least 25 seconds of this particular video. Imagine how much more effective your marketing will be when you are able to highly target the marketing that you're doing to those people that need it most. There's lots of other strategies. We don't have time to go over a lot of this right now, but I want you to think about making sure that you're getting very targeted and, most importantly, that you are retargeting the people that have been to your website. This is a big deal. In fact, I can give you an example. For those people that have been to our website, clubwealth.com, you'll notice that when you get on Facebook, you start seeing our stuff more and more and more. That's because we're retargeting you. If you'd like to see how this works, literally go to clubwealth.com, check out our blog, and watch what happens when you go on Facebook and watch the type of ads that we run that are always there for you, because when you see what we're advertising, that'll help you to understand better what you should be advertising. All right, consistency matters. Just because you advertise on Facebook doesn't mean you're going to get awesome results. It's very, very important that you follow that 10-10-10 rule so that or the 20-20-20 rule, so that you are also getting more consistently aggressive traffic on Facebook. You'll increase in the authority algorithm if you're constantly posting and people are engaging with those posts. Now, the hyperlocal targeting also helps, but remember too, when I do that, let's say I'm going to run that open house ad. If I'm going to hyperlocal target to that open house, and I'm only going to target the people within a half hour, or with a half mile of that house, then what I want to make sure I do is I drive them to a landing page with a CTA. What that is a call to action. I want to make sure that they're getting a call to action, something like click here, fill this form in, or act now, call now, something of that nature to get them to take action. All right, one of the sites that we like for this is Elevated REM. That's Travis Tom's company. Shout out to Travis. We like Commissions Inc. There's lots of great platforms that you can do this with. But whatever you do, make sure when you contact these companies, mention Club Wealth and they'll get you the Club Wealth discount. All right, so that being said, start with a modest budget per ad. Don't go out and try and all of a sudden spend all kinds of money, a $500 ad or even a $100 ad. Start with $5. Start with something very, very small. And test. Let's make sure that our ads are converting before we go and do more ads. Now, here's the next thing. Remember, video rules, right? So even in my ads, I want to run video whenever possible. It helps. And by the way, when I'm running video on Facebook, I don't want to put it on YouTube and then put the YouTube link in Facebook. It's very, very important that I upload my video directly to Facebook. Why? Because when I do, it will autoplay in their feed. That's very, very important, so that when they're scrolling through their news feed, they'll see my video and it'll have motion. If I just upload a link to YouTube, Facebook and YouTube, they don't get along real well. So guess what happens? They don't autoplay YouTube videos in your feed. So all it does is show an image or a thumbnail of that video. So make sure you always upload your video directly to Facebook. Another thing you should do is be creative. Be who you are. Don't try and be Michael Hellickson. Be you. Whoever you are, be the very best you can be. But here's the thing. You're going to attract the type of people that are like you. The last thing you want to do is act like somebody else, attract somebody else, and then all of a sudden they get to you when you start working with them and they realize you're not who they thought you were. Make sure that you're very authentic with who you are and that you're consistent and that everything you do is congruent with your belief system and who you really are naturally. Don't try and be something else. In terms of creativity, We've got clients, for example, we've got one gal in California, super awesome. What she does is every time she does an open house, she does a song for the open house. So she'll literally get in there and she'll be doing her little song and dance. Yeah, it's here's my open house and come visit my house, whatever. It's not what I would do. It's a little, out there for me, but guess what? It works for her. And her clientele love it. And it's consistent with her personality. So she's attracting the people she wants. I wear a suit and tie, right? So for me to get out there and do videos in an Aloha shirt and Bermuda shorts would not work for me, right? I'd be attracting the wrong people. I want to attract people that kind of have my philosophy toward life and toward my nature toward my business, which is a fairly aggressive, go get 'em kind of a nature. All right, so I want to watch the trends, and they're always changing. If you don't know what the trends are, ask your Club Wealth coach, talk to other agents, jump on the Club Wealth Facebook group. In fact, if you're not already a part of our Facebook group, jump on Facebook, search for the Club Wealth Real Estate Agent Mastermind Group. Lots of great ideas there. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Make sure you don't post your listings there, though, because if you start posting listings, open houses, or any other self-promotion of any kind in there, we'll just boot you out of the group because that group's for people to learn. It's not an opportunity for you to try and get business. All right, here we go. So what do my ads need to convey? If I'm going to run Facebook ads, what do they need to convey? Some of you might remember the old movie Boiler Room, right? With Vin Diesel. Remember that? And Ben Affleck. All right, check it out. This one is actually not from Boiler Room, although Boiler Room is a great movie too. This one is actually from Glenn Ross. That's even dating myself even further. So AIDA, what does that stand for? Attention, interest, decision, action. Attention, interest, decision, action. Write that down. So when I write an ad, I want to make sure I convey these three things. It used to be back in the days, the old Boiler Room and Glengarry days, agents used to think, and we're talking really the 80s here, right? Back in the 80s and even into the 90s, people thought that it was all about the ABCs. Well, what does ABC stand for? A, always, B, B, C, closing, right? Always be closing. That's what people used to think. And as great as that is, we're in a new era now with the millennials and online this and social media that. Here's the thing you need to keep in mind. Take Gary Vaynerchuk's approach to this. It's jab, 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 right hook. What does that mean? Jab, 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 right hook. Jab, 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 right hook essentially means value, 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 then go for the close, okay? So first and foremost, you have to bring and convey massive value to your audience. You need to show them that you care about them and what they're interested in because people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So make sure that you're showing that you care. Then at some point, you do need to close. So in the meantime, let's jump to that ad. Let's look at the anatomy of a great ad. Here we go. This ad is by a friend of mine, Mike Bjorkman. He's also a Club Wealth coaching client, and he's part of our Club Wealth faculty, which means he's a guy that when he speaks, we recommend you listen because he's got some great stuff, and he's going to help you as well. So here's what Mike's ad says. You can see that he takes his ad and he posts it as himself on his team page. This is very important. When you go to your team page, you can actually post as that team or as that professional business page, or you can post as yourself. Always in this scenario, I want to post as myself. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, because I'm going to get better traction organically, not just my paid traffic, but I'm going to get better organic traffic, which means traffic I don't have to pay for. Your page, people aren't, as much as you might think people like your page, nobody's following your page really. They might say there's a few people following it, but the reality is people engage with your personal profile because they want to engage with you, not your company. So make sure you post it as yourself on your team page. Then he's going to grab their attention right away. Spring is right around the corner, and you will be surprised at your home's value, right? So check this out. It's time to get your home's value. So he creates interest by saying you will be surprised at current market trends. Is this making sense? So I want you to think about this. First thing he does is he gets their attention by saying spring's right around the corner, and it's time to get your home's value. Oh, okay, I didn't know it was time to get my home's value. I guess I better do that. Then he creates that interest by saying, you're going to be surprised. So essentially, he's challenging their beliefs. This is important. And so, okay, well, gosh, I thought I knew everything, so I guess maybe I should take a look at this. Then it says, if you are thinking about selling your home, use this site to get started. So whereas most agents would cast this really wide net and just say, get your free home value. All of a sudden, which is, by the way, what a lot of people are doing. That's like going out and saying, get a free market analysis, or I'll do a free CMA or whatever. Nobody cares about that. But he is walking them through the process, and he's bringing them down through his funnel right inside his ad. So now he's going to ask for a decision and invite a call to action. Check it out. If you're thinking of selling, use this site to get started. You will receive a market evaluation immediately. So he's setting expectations. Okay, so I'm going to go into this site, I'm going to fill something out, and then I'm going to get a market analysis. And here's the crazy part. This is the part that threw me for a loop. We will then call you to set up in-home consultations as soon as we get your info. So wait a minute. So what you're saying is, if I go to this website and I click on the link and I fill out my information, you're going to call me and essentially stalk me and show up on my doorstep? Okay, that to me seemed a little weird. I wasn't sure that was going to work really well, but Mike went for it. He did, against what my original judgment, he said, hey, we're going to just go for this. Ran this ad and it got great results. If it didn't, I wouldn't be showing it to you. So check this out. Next, he's going to foreshadow success. The most important thing on this page, here it is. Single most important thing on this ad right here. A clean, beautiful photo of the home. Now, it'd be even better if it was video, right? But a photo of the home, this was a clean, beautiful photo. He's got a nice, dusky blue sky with no clouds in it. It's a nice house, something that I think, wow, I could picture myself living there, but not something that's so nice that it's completely out of reach for most people. He's done a dusky shot, so he's got really good lighting, very professional looking lighting around the house. Now, here's the interesting thing. Do you think that's his listing? I got news for you. Probably not. My thought is that listing there is probably a stock image from Facebook. And Facebook has a relationship, and I can't remember if it's iStock Photo or Shutterstock, but they've got a relationship where you can literally get hundreds of homes photographs for free. Now, you can't just go on and start dragging stuff off of people's feed and copy and pasting those. That's different. But what we're talking about here is literally using photos that are provided to you by Facebook when you run that ad. It's very easy to do. Then he's got a clear local headline, no gimmicks or tricks. It's just Santa Clarita house value. By the way, that auto-populates because that's the name of his website. So super good stuff. All right, so I wonder how much engagement he got. Let's take a look at that. Essentially, he got 48 likes and only one comment. He got 11,209 total reach, which means that's the number of people who in front of whom this ad would have appeared. 1,173 of those were organic. That's people he didn't pay for. Now, he's going to get better organic reach than you will because Mike has been doing the 20-20-20 rule forever, and he's probably on Facebook even more than that. I'll bet he's 2 to 3 hours a day on Facebook. But hey, when you're making $1.5 million a year in gross commission income, and over half of that is coming from Facebook, I think that you can go ahead and be on there a little bit longer. Now, he's not wasting time on Facebook. He's strategic about his time on Facebook. He's engaging the right people for the right reasons at the right times. And we don't have time to go into all that. Come out and watch one of our Facebook champion events. Enjoy one of those live events, and we'll teach you exactly how to go deep on Facebook. All right, 10,036 paid reach. So he literally just dropped his money into Facebook, and all of a sudden over 10,000 people were shown this ad. So here's the really crazy part. 371 people clicked on his ad knowing that as soon as they did, he was going to have someone reach out to them and show up on their doorstep and stalk them. That freaked me out. I could not believe how well he did with this. Here's the craziest part of all. Look at how many leads he got. He got 30 leads. If you look in the purple spot on your screen there, he got 30 full leads. That means name, email address, phone number, everything, actual physical address. All of that information was completely filled out by 30 people. 65 people filled out most of that information and were counted as partial leads. So essentially 95 people reached out to him based on this ad. Guess what he paid for this ad? Literally $100. For $100, he got 95 seller leads that are expecting him to show up on their doorstep and stalk him. I mean, that's insane. I don't know about you, but that's freaking phenomenal return on investment as far as I'm concerned. So take a look at it. But whatever you do, you need to get well-versed in social media. If you're not using Facebook in part of your social media plan or your marketing plan as a whole, you need to be. All right, so we talked a little bit about groups and how important it is to get into the Club Wealth Real Estate Agent Mastermind group so that you can do some networking and masterminding. It's also a great place to get referrals and to send referrals. Don't jump in there and say, hey, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Send me referrals. We'll just kick you right out. Nobody wants to be that guy, right? Don't be that guy. Get in there and bring value to other people. And when you have a referral to give, say, hey, I'm looking for an agent in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And believe me, we will help you find that right person. There's lots of very smart people in Club Wealth. There's also some great coaches in Club Wealth that will literally jump in there and they'll say, hey, we've got a coaching client over here, or we know somebody in Tulsa that would be really great, and we'll make sure you get your referral taken care of and that you get paid for that referral. That's important. Nothing worse than sending somebody a referral and you never hear back from them, right? So the groups are great for that. Also, when you're just looking for, how do I do this, that, or the other? How do I learn about this? How do I handle this situation in my business? Those are great things to post in Club Wealth, and we'll certainly get back with you and help you with those things. All right, frequency, go deep. In other words, get engaged in the group. The deeper you're engaged in the group, the more people get to know you. In other groups, I also want you to belong to community groups, and that's for direct business that you might get. I'm going to give you one very quick example. If I were going to be participating in, let's say, a gardening group in my local community, what I would want to do is I'm not going to jump in there and say, hey, look at me, I'm the local real estate agent, or hey, here's one of my listings or one of my open houses. I would never do that. I'm going to go into that gardening group. I'm going to get to know people in that group. I'm going to start posting and answering questions and sharing ideas and being very genuinely involved in that group, coming from contribution. After I've done that for a little while, then I might do this. I might grab a little plant, like a dead plant, and I might say, hey, this is my dead plant. It's a good thing I'm a great real estate agent because I just completely suck at gardening. So could somebody tell me how I killed this plant? Did I overwater it? Did I underwater it? Too much fertilizer? Not enough? What do I need to do to take better care of this plant? That's a much better way to get people to engage with you and to start thinking, oh, he's a real estate agent. Way better way to go than to jump in there and just start posting your listings and open houses. All right, so we've talked a lot about social media. Now what about this? What happens when you get leads out of this? All of a sudden you've got these leads. You even set the appointment. We're skipping some steps here because of time, but let's just assume now that you've got listing appointments. Now, how do I convert those appointments from an appointment to an actual listing? Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to teach you right now how I got 93% of the time when I went on a listing appointment. Didn't matter if it was referred or cold. 93% of the time I went on an appointment, I got the listing. And let me show you exactly how. First and foremost, once you've got leads, what do you need to do next? Call them. Too often we want technology to do everything for us. You know what? I'm all about automation, delegation, and elimination, but it starts with we got to pick up that phone and we got to get voice to voice with people so that we can get face to face with them. Then I need to begin with the end in mind. When I call somebody up, I have one goal. That's it, just one goal. What is that goal? That goal is get an appointment. I'm not trying to pre-qualify them. I'm not trying to make sure that they're going to do business with me. I'm not even trying to educate them at this point. All I care about is get the appointment. Once I have the appointment and I'm face-to-face with them, I can do all of those things and more. But on the phone, all I care about is getting the appointment. Once I have the appointment, what do I need to do? Hang up the freaking phone. Why do I say this? Because so many people they're on the phone, they're prospecting, they're working really hard, and you finally get an appointment with somebody. And you're so excited that you got the appointment that you talk them to death. And then what do? They want to bail out of there. And then you talk yourselves out of appointments. Look, I've done it. I think we've all done it at some point in our career. You got to stop talking yourself out of appointments. So make sure as soon as they say yes and you've got a date and time set, hang up the phone and move on. All right, here's the 3 most important things you've got to know about converting leads to appointments and appointments to listings. So to get a lead to convert to an appointment, you got to do these 3 things first. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Those are the 3 things you got to do. Here's the problem. Most agents give up on follow-up after 1 or 2 attempts. But did you know that you need to follow up 12 to 20 times before someone will finally choose to do business with you? And here's the cool part. Here's where this really has a lot to do with conversion. Because if I followed up with you, and here's our follow-up process, by the way. We do 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, and 3 times a month for the next 3 months. Write that down. 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, and 3 times a month for the next 3 months. Now think about this. If I followed up with you, that's 27 times. If I have followed up with you consistently over a several months period, and I've talked to you or I've reached out to you 27 times, and I've done it via phone, email, text message, and Facebook, and of course I'm going to aggressively go after you on Facebook as well. If I'm doing all of this over time, you're going to forget about everybody else. I'm going to become the natural choice for you. It makes sense, doesn't it? Because everybody else has dropped by the wayside, but I'm the guy that's still following up with you over and over and over and over again. Now, am I going to leave a text message and a voice message 3 times in one day? Heck no. I'm only going to leave 1 per day at most. But just understand, I'm not going to get too deep into how to do follow-up. There's great little ninja techniques you can use. We don't have time for that today, but what I do want you to know is you have to be tenacious about follow-up. So remember, 3 times a day for the first 3 days, 3 times a week for the next 3 weeks, and 3 times a month for the next 3 months. All right, now let's talk about preparing for the listing appointment. You have to understand your style. What does that mean? Well, my style is very assumptive close, right? So I need to know that when I go in there, I'm just assuming that you're going to do business with me. Why wouldn't you do business with me? Why would you want to do business with anybody else? Of course you're going to do business with me. So I want to stay just this side of arrogant or conceited, right? Don't ever let arrogance or kind of cloud you, or don't let ego get in the way. But at the same time, you need to be confident. You need to have what I like to call swagger. If you don't have swagger, if you can't walk into that room like Timothy Oliphant and just own that room, then you and the seller have a problem. Because here's what we know. Somebody's closing on this appointment. You're either closing them on a listing or they're closing you on not giving you the listing. So which is it going to be? A lot of people tell me, well, Michael, I do a 2-step listing appointment. Let me tell you what a 2-step listing appointment looks like today. Step 1, you go out there, you look at their property, you develop a rapport with them, you decide, you talk to them about coming back in another week, and then you're going to bring them listing paperwork. Step 2, you go out there a week later and now you're previewing my listing. Why? Because I was aggressive, because I understood that somebody's going to close on that appointment and I am going to close on the first appointment every single time. You guys, there's no such thing as a 2-step listing appointment. All right, so how long should it take me to prepare for that listing appointment? How long does it take me to prepare all my paperwork, listing packet, all that kind of stuff? Let me just tell you, it should take you less than 10 minutes, ideally 5 minutes. All you should have to do, because your listing packets, those are all done already. All you should have to do in preparation for the listing appointment is literally pull your comparable properties and your 2-page property profile from the title company. That's really all you've got to do. And frankly, you could have an assistant do that. You don't need to be the one to do that. All right, so I've got everything ready. I've prepared for the appointment. Now what? By the way, don't get caught up in the analysis paralysis. I know there's people out there that are doing, a half hour, even as many as 2 hours going through and preparing for this listing appointment. It's a colossal waste of time. I'd rather see you spend the majority of that time on the phone doing lead generation, lead follow-up, and lead conversion. All right, so here we go. I also don't want to just wing it, right? I want to have some information when I go out there. And so when I get there, I'm at least going to have my comps and my listing presentation kit. All right, so what do I need to have for the appointment? Number 1, I got to have tactical gear. Let's talk about that. What kind of tactical gear do I need to have? Well, first and foremost, gentlemen, I got to have one of these on. What's that? A tie. I wear a tie when I go on appointments. You guys, you're dealing with the most important financial transaction in most people's lives. Don't you think it warrants dressing up? I mean, seriously, used car salesmen dress better than a lot of real estate agents. Sorry, but it's true. How about attorneys? Would you ever do business with an attorney that showed up in an Aloha shirt for your appointment or Bermuda shorts? I actually have a very good friend and client who went on a listing appointment here recently, and this is just a couple months ago, went on this listing appointments, showed up in Bermuda shorts. They were nice shorts, right? They were nice, nice looking shorts and a nice button-up shirt, but in shorts to a listing appointment. And this was a referral, right? This was somebody he's actually sphere of influence. They've known this person for years and years and years. They get out there to do this appointment, they thinking, oh, I've got the listing, and the person lists it later on with somebody else. Why? Well, they were upset that my friend showed up in shorts, and their comment was, it made me feel like he didn't take me seriously. Wow, by the way, that was $1.5 million listing. Is it worth several $1,000s for you to put a suit and tie on, guys? Absolutely. All right, ladies, I want you to think about this. Let's remember what we are and are not selling. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Dress professionally, ladies. All right. Love you guys to death. And for the vast majority of you, you don't have a problem with this, but there are certainly some folks in our profession that we need to kind of take it up a notch. All right. All right, here we go. Camera. I'm going to have my camera around my neck on a lanyard. But Michael, in our market, we're in a luxury market and we use professional photographers. Well, whoop-de-freaking do. I really don't care. Guess what? It's okay if you want to do a professional photography. I'm down with that. That's great. But for now, you need to put a lanyard with a camera around your neck. That's what needs to happen. You'll understand why in a moment, but it's very, very important. So please just trust me on this. Unless you're consistently listing and selling over 100 homes per month like I was, try just taking my advice on this and let's just do it my way for now. Later on, you can tweak it and do it your way, but for now, put the camera around your neck. Next thing, lockbox. I want you to take the lockbox into the appointment with you every time. Don't just leave it in the car. That's not good enough. You need to have it with you. You need to take it into the appointment. This is very, very important. All right. By the way, it's my silent salesperson. At some point during the appointment, I'm going to sit it on the desk and they're going to see it and it's going to be between me and them. Let me tell you something. This is going to be huge. All right. Next, I'm going to want 4 blue ink pens. Why 4 blue ink pens, you ask? Well, let me tell you something. This is gigantic. Write this down. 4 blue ink pens. Here's the thing. With my 4 blue ink pens, I'm going to save 8 minutes on every appointment. And 8 minutes to me is very important. How do I save 8 minutes with 4 blue ink pens? I've got one for me, one for Mr. Seller, one for Mrs. Seller, and a spare in case we run out of ink. This is very, very important. So check it out. I give them these pens. We're all signing at the same time. Oh, wait a minute. I can hear it now. But Michael, in our market, we use electronic documents. Yeah, well, awesome. That's great. So what happens when your tablet breaks or when it runs out of battery or when in one of the other millions of ways technology can fail, it fails. And now you're sitting there, you don't have what you need to get this thing listed today? Yeah, I'm not taking anything to chance. I'm walking out of here with a listing no matter what. So you bring your iPad, that's awesome. And that one time that it breaks, guess what? You just lost several $1,000s in commissions because you had to do it on tablet. Again, bring it with you, but have that paper backup. All right, so this saves me, again, 8 minutes on every appointment to have my 4 blue ink pens. And that 8 minutes times 10 appointments, that's 120 minutes or... I'm sorry, it's 80 minutes. It's an hour and 20 minutes that I can spend with my family. I can spend it doing something I enjoy. I can spend it prospecting or lead generating, following up with leads. I can spend it doing a lot of things other than sitting there waiting for somebody to be done with a pen so I can use it. All right, business cards, a magnet for the fridge. I want to have my market analysis with me. I want to have my 44-point listing appointment checklist. This is very, very important. You can get this, by the way, if you go to our website, go to clubwealth.com. Go to the blog, scroll down on the blog, and you'll see it'll say View More. Keep hitting View More until you get far enough down the blog to where you can find the 44-point listing appointment checklist. On that 44-point listing appointment checklist, you're going to find that it's got exactly what you need to do to follow to follow the checklist through every single appointment to ensure that you're talking about exactly what you need to be talking about, to ensure that they're receiving what you want to be giving, and to ensure that you don't leave anything important out. Again, it's completely free. Go to our website, grab it. You can download the free checklist. But here's what I want to do. I want to have that checklist with me. It's very, very important. I also want to have a stapler with me. This is very important. Why do I carry a stapler? First of all, anytime you use paper clips, I never use paper clips because things get lost, right? Stuff falls out of paper clips. And let me tell you, the most embarrassing, worst thing, and by the way, it can cost you money, when all of a sudden you're using paper clips, you show up at an appointment and you get the listing signed, you go through all the stuff you've gone through to get to this point, you get the signed listing, you go out to your car, you toss your stuff in there on the paper clip or whatever, and then by the time you get back to the office, something's missing. Maybe it got shuffled into the wrong file, maybe it fell on the ground, who knows? But let me tell you something, a stapler is very important. And everything I'm sharing with you, by the way, I'm sharing with you because I've made these mistakes. I've made the mistakes so that you don't have to. So make sure you carry a stapler with you, and as soon as you're done with that paperwork, staple it together, and that way when you chuck it in your car and you're ready to hand it off to your assistant when you get to the office, it's very, very easy for your assistant to know that I've got everything I need in that packet. All right, so my listing packet, that's the next thing I've got to have. Listing packet is very, very, very important. So the listing packet's going to have all kinds of stuff in it. Well, like what? What should be in my listing packet? I want to have my 2-line property profile printout. I want to have my comps are going to be in my packet. I want to have my. By the way, when I do the property profile from the title company, have you ever gone on a listing appointment and you find that the square footage in the title company is wrong, or the bedrooms and baths is wrong, or whatever? Well, that's okay, because what I want you to do is I want you to carry a red pen with you also, and I'm going to make notes right on that property profile sheet. I'm going to cross off the incorrect information, and I'm going to have the seller's initial next to the correct information. And that way in my marketing, I can say things like, per seller, square footage is actually this, which might be 1,000 square feet more than it shows in the county records. That happens frequently. But I need to have initials from the seller so that I'm able to put that monkey on their back and not mine. If that's what they're stating as the square footage, cool, we'll go with what you have to say, but I want to make sure I'm disclosing properly in my paperwork. All right. Let's see. How about my disclosures, my agency, my property disclosure, my state, hold harmless, all of these things, right? Got to have all my disclosures. Now, if you're running a USP, what's a USP? A unique selling proposition. So you might be running a unique selling proposition like a guaranteed sale program, or a love it or leave it guarantee, or a buy from me, sell for free, or sell with me, move for free, or something like that. There's lots of great USPs out there. We've got a whole blog post on that. Go to our website. You can watch the video on that. But essentially, I want you to think about this. If you're going to run a USP, you need to make sure that you have a disclaimer with you. I like to put this right on my listing appointment checklist, and I like to have them initial either opting in or opting out of my guarantee. This is very, very important. If I don't do this, I could have challenges down the road. So, what else is in my listing packet? I want to have my listing agreement in the listing packet. Also, I want to make sure that the commission and the term are pre-printed on my listing agreements. Here's what's interesting. When your commission and your term are pre-printed on the listing agreement, you get fewer objections. If you don't have those things pre-printed on your agreement, guess what happens? Every time you go to a listing appointment, they start questioning your commission because they think it's negotiable. If they see it already printed on there, they assume that that's just what it is, and it ceases to become a point of negotiation. Now, I'm not arguing with state law, and I get it. In state law, in virtually all states, in fact, all of them that I'm aware of, commissions are negotiable, and you're required to have your commissions as negotiable, but whatever. Don't go there right now. Just pre-print it in the agreement. Same thing with your term. I used to take my listings, and I can talk about this because I'm not actively selling real estate now. You are, so don't have this conversation among yourselves or it's racketeering. But I can tell you that when I was selling real estate, I would list things at 7% plus $695. Oh, but Michael, things are different now. No, they're not different now. What's different is you don't care about your commissions as much as I cared about mine. You don't value yourself as much as I valued my services. Write this down. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. Think about that. If you provide value and if you convey that value in a way that they can understand and appreciate, guess what? The price won't matter. I'll give you an example. If I tell you, hey, look, I'm going to sell your home for 15% more than every other agent out there, and it's only going to cost you an extra 1% to get my services, that's a net 14% to you. Would you list your home with me? Absolutely, right? Okay, now, am I going to tell them 15% more? No, I'm not. But I will show them statistically how I can sell it for 1.5% more than the average agent. And if it only costs them an extra 1% or 0.5% to get me to sell it for them for an extra 1.5% to 2%, there's still 1 to 2% ahead. And if I can articulate that value, then I can ask the question, well, if they give me the commission objection again, I can say, well, let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What's more important to you? How much I make or how much you make when this transaction is over? And guess what they're going to say? Well, I care more about how much I make. Fantastic. So in order to get you, and then I can go right into my close again, right? Or I might even just jump literally right into my close, which is going to be, are there any other questions? Watch this. Here's the best close in the world. You ready for this? Watch here. Look at my eyes. Best closing script in the world. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? And do you see what I'm doing with my head? I'm shaking my head back and forth. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? That is the best closing line ever. I've used it on thousands of listing appointments, and it works almost every time. All right, here's another great script. Did you guys write that one down, by the way? I'll give it to you one more time. Are there any other questions before we get started on the paperwork? Okay, here's another great one. So, best follow-up script ever. When you're following up with people, here's the problem. Most agents are calling potential sellers or buyers, and they're saying something like this. Well, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. It's Michael Hellickson over at Hellickson Real Estate. I just wanted to find out, are you ready to get that house on the market yet? Weak, right? That's weak. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. How about this? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. It's Michael Hellickson over at Hellickson Real Estate. Hey, I just want to give you a quick call and make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. Write that down. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end. Now check it out. Here's what happens. With the first example, if I call him up and I say, are you ready to sell? All of a sudden I'm a skeezy sales guy, right? Like nobody wants to deal with that guy. But when I say I just want to make sure I'm not dropping the ball on my end, here's what they say. Oh, no, it's not you, it's me, right? It's like that girl in high school, right? Seriously though, it's super easy because now I've transitioned from being a salesperson, right? So I start off, I'm a salesperson, I'm a skeezy salesperson trying to find out if you're ready to let me come out and list your house. But when I use this script, now I'm a servant. And if I can transition from skeezy salesperson to servant, that's huge. Now, if I can also transition to servant with authority, oh my gosh, game over. That's how you do well in real estate today. All right, so let's keep going. My listing input forms need to be in my packet as well. I need to have my company info pre-printed on there. I need to have my MLS ID number, my company's MLS ID number, essentially everything that I can have printed on there that doesn't have anything to do with that specific house. Okay, so it's not seller specific. That way, if for some crazy reason I don't get this particular listing, I still have my packet. I can go use it at another house. More importantly, it allows me to create a whole bunch of these listing packets very quickly. So I have a stack in my car all the time, and I'm not spending a ton of administrative time putting these together, nor is my assistant. And by the way, some of you are saying to yourselves, well, I've got an assistant, so it's no big deal. I'll just have her do that. You know, your assistant's time has value too. So we need to think about this. We need to value our time, and we need to value our assistants and our other team members' times as well. All right. So again, fill it out as generically as possible. I also want to have my list of frequently asked questions with me. This is also important. I don't want to spend a lot of time sitting here talking to Mr. and Mrs. Seller about, can I keep the rhododendron? That's stuff they can get from my frequently asked questions list. But I do want to go over the seller questionnaire with them. The seller questionnaire is very, very important. Here's what we're going to talk about in the seller questionnaire. What would you like advertised about your home? What would you not like advertised about your home? And please describe, as if you were speaking to a buyer, the things that you're going to miss most about the home. A few words about your neighbors, the neighborhood, etc. Now, you guys, I'm telling you this because I want to solve downstream potential problems. Again, everything I'm sharing with you, I've learned through hard knocks. You don't have to repeat that experience, okay? You can steal my experience. So check this out. By asking what would you like advertised about the home, I find out right away what their hot buttons are on that advertising, and I can meet and exceed their expectations that way. What would you like to not have advertised about your home? This is also a very important question because I'll give you an example. I had a seller once that had a swimming pool. She freaked out when I advertised that they had a swimming pool. Went ballistic. I darn near lost the listing. You guys, you don't want to lose a listing because you're advertising something that they think is a drawback. I thought it was a feature benefit. She thought that it was a drawback. So be very, very careful. Make sure you're asking these questions. Then I'm going to have them describe, as if they're speaking to a buyer, the things they're going to miss most, because now I can share that information with the buyer. Super valuable. All right, let's go to the next thing. I'm going to have my short sale packet with me. Even if I'm going on an appointment where they say they own it free and clear, I'm still taking my short sale packet with me. Why? If I don't take my short sale packet with me and it turns out to be a short sale, I can't get the listing today. And by the way, do situations magically change between my office and their house? Yes. So I get there a lot of times and I find out that, oh, you really are a short sale. Guess we better deal with that. So I want to be prepared for any and all situations and circumstances, no matter what, so that no matter what, I can list every single house I go on while I'm there. By the way, I almost forgot on the seller questionnaire, there's 6 lines at the bottom of the seller questionnaire. Those 6 lines are very, very important. You want to use those 6 lines to talk about referrals. So that's the 6 lines they're going to write down, people they want to refer to. And I actually talk about referrals 3 times, a minimum of 3 times on each listing appointment. I don't have time to go over all of the listing appointment with you right now, but I will tell you that on average, I would get 0.75 listings per appointment. And a lot of that has to do with, I would just ask nicely. And I would say things like, so these 6 lines at the bottom of the page, Mr. and Ms. Seller, that's the spot for you to write down the people that you are aware that might be thinking of buying or selling a home here in the near future. So if you could just do me a favor and write their names and numbers down, here's what I've begun to learn. And that is that people that are actively engaged in the process of buying or selling a home recognize other people that are in the process of buying and selling a home. This is called your reticular activator. It's kind of like when you're pregnant. All of a sudden it seems like everyone else around town is pregnant. Well, it's not that there's all of a sudden more pregnant people out there. It's just that you're noticing them now. That's your reticular activator. Or you bought a car that's new to you. All of a sudden it seems like everybody in town's driving that same type of car. It's not that that has actually changed. It really is just your reticular activator. So what we want to do is not only put your reticular activator to use, but those people that you're going to write their names down here, I'm going to put their reticular activator to use to help sell your home faster and for more money. Won't that be great? Oh, yes, Michael, that would be fantastic. Okay, fantastic. Put their names down here. That's my first opportunity to talk about referrals. So we'll go through more of that. All right, so here are some absolute must-follow rules about the listing, okay? Here you go. Rule number 1, take every listing and take it now. Rule number 2, when in doubt, refer to rule number 1. But Michael, what if the seller's overpriced? Who cares? You're going to have a sign in front of the house, right? And you're going to get calls from buyers on that sign, right? Okay, so how many signs do I want to have in the ground? As many as possible. There was a point in time where I literally had 750 listings. How many sign calls do you think I got during that period of time? Let me just tell you. It was 6,352 sign calls per month. You guys, that's wicked awesome advertising. So take every listing and take it now. And when in doubt, refer to rule number 1. Remember, write this down. A sign in the yard beats a sign in the car every time. All right, so get as many signs out there in yards as you can. All right, so now that I'm prepared, now what do I got to do? Well, 90% of success is showing up on time. So what's on time if I'm a real estate agent? Well, we already know that most real estate agents run between 10 and 15 minutes late, right? Some of the people that are watching this right now probably showed up late to the video. I'm just kidding. But what I'm saying is, listen, you've got to show up on time. And I like to see you show up at least 5 to 10 minutes early. I'd rather see you in your car making follow-up calls 5 or 10 minutes ahead of the appointment than to have you show up even 1 minute late. So make sure you're on time. It matters. Some people really, really do care about this. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. Make sure, no matter what, you follow the 44-point listing appointment checklist. Again, go to our website, download a copy of it for free, clubwealth.com. It's in the blog. Okay, super easy. Just look for that blog post. All right, so when I'm out, here's exactly what I do. So I'm in my car. I'm out in front of the house. I grab my camera, I put my camera around my neck. I've got my listing packet here, my little folder with my listing packet in it, and then I grab my key box. I stick my key box here, so I tuck the whole thing under so that the key box is between the listing packet and my body, so that when I walk up to the front door, they don't see it yet. But before I even get out of my car, I take a picture of that listing appointment checklist. Here's why. That tells me, and if I have a team, it tells my staff, this is the first picture for that house, because they'll see the name and contact information of the person printed in the upper left-hand corner, because we take those checklists, we feed them through the printer, and we have our CRM print the contact info in the upper left-hand corner. And that also gives me a chance while I'm out on the appointment to verify that their contact information is correct. So now I've taken my picture, I get out of the car. Before I walk up to the front door, I have to do the next thing. And by the way, this is why I always park on the street and not in their driveway, never in the driveway. So now I'm going to take a picture of the front of the house. Why? Because if I don't take a picture of the front of the house now, on my way out the door, a lot of times when I've been taking the picture, Mr. and Mrs. Seller comes running out. Michael, wait, we've been thinking about it and we want to think about it overnight. Heck no. This is my listing. You are not thinking about this overnight. I'm taking this listing right now. So, very, very important, you guys. Take that photo before you even go in the house. One thing to keep in mind, too, is that virtually every MLS in the country requires that you have that photo of the front of the home. And if you don't have a photo of the front of the home, you can't put the thing in the MLS. So make sure you get that photo of the front of the home done right now. Then I'm going to walk up to the house. Now, before I knock on the front door, I've got to be thinking a couple of things in my mind. First of all, I'm doing my affirmations. When I've done my incantations on the road on the way here, and there's a whole nother, we'll talk to you about that another time. Incantations are essentially affirmations with full body and, loud. And, there's a Tony Robbins thing, right? I mean, but it works, right? I want to get what we call in state. So I got to be in state so that when I get in front of this person, my energy level's high, my vibration level, for those of you that follow that kind of stuff, is high. I'm excited, I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm game on. Then the next thing I gotta do is I gotta think about my first sentence. Always, always, always know your first sentence. So I wanna be able to walk in there, and I wanna be able to know that the very first thing I say is gonna be this. So if I nail that, the rest of the appointment goes pretty easy. Then I'm gonna think about that person's name. I wanna remember what their name is. It's very important that I mention them by name, and if they were referred, I gotta remember who referred them to us. So these are some things I'm thinking before I knock on the door. The other thing I'm thinking about is I gotta look them in the eye. So I wanna make sure that I notice their eye color. So having my scripts memorized really helps because now I can focus on them instead of what I'm going to say. So I'm thinking about what is their eye color, what is their eye color, what is their eye color. Then I'm gonna knock on that front door. And here's exactly what I do. So I start off, I'm over here, the Mr. Sellers, or Mr. and Mrs. Seller over here. Here's exactly what I'll say. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Mr. Smith, it's so nice to meet you. I'm so glad John referred you to us. Hey, do you mind if I start taking some photos before we get started on the paperwork? And I will literally walk past them and I will begin taking photos before they even get a chance to say yes or no. So I've already walked past them in that process. Now, some of you are thinking to yourselves, oh my gosh, that is crazy aggressive. Yes, it is. Remember, my style is an assumptive closed style. Also, remember, I've listed thousands of homes. I was literally going on, I was listing, forget about REO, about half my business was REO, half was retail, right? So not even counting REO, just retail, I was personally, not counting my team, just me, just mom and pop type appointments, I was bringing in 50 to 75 listings a month, working just 12 days a month. This right here, this is part of the reason why. Now, some of you are thinking, man, I don't think I could do that. Yes, you can. If you absolutely can't do that, then what you need to do is you need to ask them for a glass of water. Make them go get you a glass of water. But somehow, in some way, you have got to establish dominance in this scenario. You have got to take control. Because here's what's interesting. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when they're selling their home, guess what they want? They want a strong agent. They want somebody who's going to take control and get it done for them and get them as much money as possible in the least amount of time possible. When Mr. and Mrs. Smith, same person, when Mr. and Mrs. Smith are out looking to buy a home, they want a nurturer. They want someone who's going to love them, guide them, educate them, and be patient with them throughout the process. Same person, very different personality types than the person they're looking for to help them in that situation. Very, very important. You guys have to understand, listing agents, you need to be bold. Write this down. Fortis, Fortuna, Advivat. And I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that last name wrong. It's Latin. It's a dead language. Nobody pronounces it right anymore, right? I don't know, but that's the Latin phrase. It's awesome. Fortis, Fortuna, Advivat. What does that mean? It means fortune favors the bold. Our entire listing agent boot camp that's our motto for our listing agent boot camp is Fortis, Fortuna, Advivat. Why? Because if you want to get listings, you need to be bold. If you're timid, you're not getting the listing. Somebody else will, and it will be the person who's bold. All right, here we go. So I've greeted the homeowner, and I immediately said, I'm so glad John referred you to us. Do you remember why I said that? Because guess what? They're interviewing other agents. I need to immediately establish at least a little bit of rapport. So I want to get that little bit of trust going. And if I can remember, or remind them rather, that I was referred by John, all of a sudden I've got a leg up on everybody else they've talked to. And now I go in and I take control. And it's like, and instead of questioning me, they step back for a second. It's kind of almost a pattern interrupt. They take a step back, And they're thinking to themselves, okay, well, if John trusts this guy, I guess we can trust this guy. And then they start following me through the house. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the walkthrough. Okay. And remember, I didn't wait for an answer. I immediately began taking photos. So when I'm doing this walkthrough, I always do it in the beginning of the appointment. This is very important. I always start upstairs. They're going to want to start in the kitchen? Heck no. Start upstairs. The final place that I stop is going to be the kitchen. Now, as we're going through the home, I want Mr. and Mrs. Seller with me, and I want to brote and Ford them to death. What does brote stand for? Write this down. B-R-O-T. It's an acronym. Building relationships on trust. Again, building relationships on trust. So I want to make sure that I'm building this relationship on trust, and I do that by asking them lots of open questions, open-ended questions about their family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. That's Ford, right? Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So I want to make sure I'm doing that the entire time during the walkthrough. That means I've got to do just 10% of the talking, and they need to be doing 90% of the talking. Listen, when you master this, they're going to think that you're a master conversationalist because they're doing all the talking. There's nothing people like to hear more than the sound of their own voice. If you don't ask me, just ask your spouse how they feel about you. They're going to tell you that you'd love to hear the sound of your own voice, right? At least that's the case in my house. Maybe it's different at yours. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm going to ask them all these questions as we're walking through the house. And I'm going to control that conversation through the questions that I ask. Again, listening more than I talk. I'm going to photograph every nook and cranny in the house. I want to make sure that when I get downstairs, Mrs. Seller doesn't say to me, well, Michael, you don't realize that our home is worth $10,000 more than the one down the street that has twice as much square footage because we have that ceramic tile on the backsplash in our bathroom. And I'm going to be able to respond back and say, oh, yes, Mrs. Seller, I do realize that. In fact, I did also notice that you had one of those tiles was broken. Hey, but don't worry, that's not going to affect the value of your home by too much. Right? Again, pattern recognition. Whoa, holy cow. Right? I want them to know that I've addressed all the deficiencies and complimented on the extras throughout the walkthrough and that you're not pulling one over on me. I know my stuff. Now let's get to business. All right? So one of the other things I want to do is I want to implement a technique called embedded commands. Now, we don't have time to go into a lot of NLP techniques or neuro-linguistic programming techniques, but what I do want you to know is that I want to use embedded commands throughout my presentation. One of the words that I need to say a lot during my presentation, at least 7 to 10 times, is the word today. Why? Because I don't want to be doing a two-step listening appointment. I want them to make a decision today. I don't ever want them, I don't use the word think at all, right? So what do you think, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? I would never say that. Why? Because I don't want them to think. I want them to act. I want them to act right now. So I'll talk about how they feel and those types of things, but I want action today. So here's my embedded commands. So it might, for you, it might look something like this. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of 3 things is going to happen today. You're going to either choose to list your home with me today, or you might choose not to list your home with me today. Or I might choose not to let you list your home with me today. Any one of those is fine, okay? So you'll notice a couple of things. One, when I want them to say yes, I'm nodding my head up and down. If I want them to say no, I'm shaking my head back and forth. And you'll notice that I put a pause in front of list your home with me today. And I drop that last word, today. Never swing up. If I swing up, I'm asking a question. If I swing down, I'm giving a command. Embedded commands must be commands. The other thing that I'm doing here, besides embedding the word today, is that I'm getting them into what we call a yes state. So I need to get them to say yes 7 to 11 times. Ideally, I'd like to be around 12 times throughout the listening appointment. If I can get them to say yes that many times, I've induced a yes state. When I go for my close, I'm much more likely to get the answer I want. So those are embedded commands. Now, the next thing we got to do is we got to control the environment. I'm going to share this with you, and we're going to have to wrap up. We're running short on time, so here we go really fast. I want to make sure the kids and the pets are at the end of the room. I'm going to let them know. I'm going to blame it on my ADD, right? How many real estate agents have ADD? All the good ones, right? Yeah, exactly. All right, so check it out. So I always tell people ADD used to be a 3-letter acronym. Now it's a 6-figure income. All right, so what I'm going to say is I'm going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would you mind if we put the pets in the other room and the kids in the kennel for just a moment? And they'll laugh, right? Kids in the kennel, ha, 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 right? Okay, but they get the point. So I get rid of the kids in the kennel. I turn the radios and the TVs off, all that kind of stuff. Then I sit at the kitchen table. Ideally, I want Mrs. Seller to my right. My right hand is my strong hand. Her left hand is her weak hand. I want her on my right. Why? Because who makes the decisions? Is it Mr. Seller? Heck no, regardless of what he thinks. Let me tell you something. Any man, this is the rule in our house, right? Any man that says he wears the pants in the family probably lies about other things too, right? So I need to make sure I get her. If I got her, he'll follow along. So I'm never going to sit on anything comfortable. If there's no kitchen table, I'm going to stand at the counter and I want bright lights on. Here's another big one, and I'm sharing this with you because it's happened to me. Never, never, never fall asleep at the listing appointment. Yes, it's happened to me. So check this out. Here I was late at night. Remember, I was working 12 days a month, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I was working 7 in the morning till 10 at night. That was my 12-day month. This happened to be an appointment on my Thursday, which would have been my Friday, right? So it was Thursday night, which essentially is my Friday. And so I was whooped. It'd been a long week. I'd listed a ton of homes, and I'm from Seattle, so it was dark out. It's October. It's dark. It's cold out. And I walk up to this house. It's 10 o'clock at night. And as they open the door, I feel this blast of warm, moist air coming out of the house, right? It's just, oh my gosh, it was overwhelming. And so I walk in. They've got the lights down low, the heat up to like 3,000 degrees. They got the candle lights burning, the incense is burning. They got smooth jazz playing on the radio. I'm thinking to myself, what kind of appointment am I here for? Do they realize that I'm here to list their house? I wasn't sure. Maybe they thought I was somebody else. Who knows? My license plate said HM, the number 4, sale, which I thought meant home for sale. Maybe they thought him for sale. I don't know. Weird. Anyway, long story short, I walk in there, they've got all this going on. They sit me on one of those couches where when you sit down, it kind of goes, and it sucks you into the couch, right? You know the type. I am so tired. I'm in this comfortable environment. All I remember is I was in the middle of my clothes. Here it was. Are there any other questions? And I fell asleep, kid you not, right in the middle of my clothes. All I remember is Mrs. Seller tapping me on the shoulder. Michael, it's okay. We're going to list with you. Go home and get some sleep. And I got the listing. Anyway, the point being, you've got to control the environment. So here's the thing. We're out of time. So here's what I want you to do. Those of you that would love to hear more information about Club Wealth, jump on clubwealth.com. You spent an hour with me today. Least I can do is spend an hour with you, either myself or one of our coaches, not a sales guy, but one of our coaches. We would be more than happy to do what we call a strategy session with you, where we'll dig deep into your business for a full hour, find out where you're at, what you're hoping to accomplish, what you've been doing, what's working, what's not working, what you're willing to do and not willing to do. And then we'll build you a roadmap for the next 12 months on exactly what you need to do. This is all at no cost to you. Exactly what you need to do to make sure you're knocking it out of the park and hitting your goals over the next 12 months. Again, no cost, no obligation, no pressure. In fact, no sales pitch. If you want to learn about coaching, you'll actually have to ask the coach, hey, could you tell me more about the coaching? Because we're not going to tell you unless you ask. So again, my name is Michael Hellickson. I'm with Club Wealth. I really appreciate the time you've taken with me. Take advantage of a free strategy session by going to our website, www.clubwealth.com/strategy session. And we'll be seeing you at the top where you belong, where you'll be earning exactly what you deserve, and you'll get to have a life in the process.
Well, thank you, Michael. I'm so proud to be able to help real estate agents all over the country. Your leadership is appreciated, and you bringing this in-depth training at literally no cost is a thrill for us. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you got value. I can certainly see that some of you will be running social media ads differently as a direct result of what you learned today, and maybe you'll even change the way you approach listing appointments. Remember, NL2, the National Lunch and Learn League, falls on the first Wednesday of every month. The next topic will be about systems that produce predictable and recurring income. Systems and sources. How can you do the same thing over and over and have it generate money every single month? You'll learn to run your real estate business like a well-oiled machine. We know that efficiency is as important as productivity. Make sure you talk to your loan officer to discuss next month's venue. We here at AnnieMac Works look forward to seeing you on the first Wednesday of next month. Have a great day.